It is late, and I am glad you are here for this conversation. Most people don't fall behind financially because they are lazy. They fall behind because they are focused on the wrong things. And in 2026, a few specific decisions are going to matter way more than everything else combined. I want to walk you through 5 things that will actually move the needle. I want to share the things I feel you must be doing to get ahead financially this year. But before we dive in, I want you to think about what is holding you back most right now. Is it your income, your spending, or maybe you just don't know what the next move is? I remember being in that exact position just a few years ago. I was 21, graduating into a world that felt like it was falling apart, and I had no clue how to build a foundation. I thought I needed to find the next hidden stock or a secret shortcut to bypass the years of work. I felt like a genius for a few weeks, while the market was irrational, but it was just a temporary hallucination before the math finally humbled me. Now that I have crossed that first $100,000 milestone, I realize the truth is much quieter. The first thing you have to do to get ahead is to get absolute control of your cash flow. In order for you to optimize anything in your finances, you need total clarity. You need to know exactly how much money is coming in and exactly how much is going out. Most people don't actually know where their money goes month in and month out. A lot of people are a little bit too scared to even look at their bank statements. I completely understand that feeling because it can be overwhelming. Sometimes I will look at my own bank account and wonder what a specific charge was for. I find myself trying to recall a purchase from 3 weeks ago, and it makes me realize that nobody is perfect. But at the end of the day, you cannot make confident decisions if your money feels random. I am not saying you have to track every single cent or live in an extreme form of restriction. It is mainly about gaining awareness and getting clarity on the patterns of your life. A realistic approach for this is to try to track your spending for just 30 to 60 days. Start identifying where your fixed expenses are and where you have different leaks in your finances. Leaks are the things you didn't even realize you were spending money on until you saw them on paper. You already know what your rent is and what your internet bill costs, but it is the flexible spending that usually determines whether you get ahead or stay stuck. I am not suggesting you create harsh restrictions that make you miserable. Instead, try to create soft rules for yourself. If you see that you are spending $150 a week on eating out when you thought it was $50, don't cut it to zero. Maybe just limit it to once or twice a week instead of 5 times. For me personally, I was the type of person who suffered from death by 1,000 cuts. I wasn't buying luxury cars, but I was going to 7-Eleven every single day for snacks. $5 or $6 here and there doesn't feel like a lot in the moment, but it adds up to a significant amount by the end of the year. Reeling in those small habits allowed me to start saving for the things that actually matter. The second thing I would say is to build a financial buffer before taking any big risks. You want to have stability before you attempt any type of aggression in the markets. If you are constantly stressed, it is almost impossible to be consistent with your long-term plan. Building an emergency fund prevents you from panic selling your stocks when the market takes a dip. It prevents you from relying on a credit card with a 25% interest rate when your car breaks down. This isn't about being pessimistic. It is about being prepared so that you can stay in the game. Start small by saving up just $500 as a tiny cushion and then work toward 1 month of expenses. Keep this money boring and liquid in a separate account so you aren't tempted to spend it. I have had times in the last year where my car needed $1,400 in repairs quite suddenly. Because I had that buffer, I didn't have to sell a single share of my portfolio to cover it. Back in 2020, I didn't have that luxury, and I remember the horrible feeling of selling stocks just to pay rent. A buffer buys you time, and time is the only thing that buys you real options in life. The third thing for 2026 is to invest consistently even if the amount feels insignificant. Momentum matters a lot more than perfection when you are starting out. Too many people wait for the perfect market crash or wait until they have a large lump sum. But the reality is that investing small amounts consistently builds your identity as an investor. When you throw $25 a week into the market, you begin to see yourself as an owner rather than just a consumer. Before you know it, that small habit turns into $100, then $500, and then you start seeing the compound growth. Market uncertainty is not a valid reason to sit on the sidelines. Time in the market will always beat timing the market, and that is a mathematical fact. The easiest way to do this is to automate your contributions so you don't even have to think about it. I am not a financial advisor, but for me, I just focus on very simple things like the S&P 500. I don't even check my accounts daily because the daily movement is just noise. Over a 20 or 30-year period, 1 week of volatility means absolutely nothing. The psychology of the habit is what matters early on, not the complexity of the strategy. You don't need to be a genius to build wealth, you just need to start and refuse to quit. The fourth thing is to be very intentional with lifestyle upgrades. Every time you increase your cost of living, it comes with a massive long-term opportunity cost. If you spend $50,000 on a new car, that same money could have compounded into a fortune over 30 years. Lifestyle inflation happens very quietly, and most people don't even notice it until they are trapped. Small monthly increases in your expenses can compound into years of delayed retirement and extra stress. I try to think of every dollar invested today as a way to buy back my time in the future. The sooner you invest, the sooner you can walk away from the things that don't fulfill you. Your spending should always match your own values, not the values of people you are trying to impress. If people are judging you for driving a used car, let them, because they likely have a monthly payment that is draining their future. Do what is best for your own balance sheet and live within your means. One trick I use is to delay any major lifestyle upgrade by at least a month. I ask myself if this purchase actually improves my life or if I am just seeking temporary approval. I drove my grandmother's old car for years, and while I got teased for it, I didn't have a single car payment. That allowed me to build the $100,000 portfolio that gives me actual security today. The fifth and final thing is to simplify your financial system so that you can stick with it for decades. Complexity is the enemy of consistency, and it almost always leads to burnout. If you have too many accounts and too many moving parts, you will experience decision fatigue. You don't need 5 different brokerage accounts to be a successful investor. I once had a coworker who had 8 different accounts, and it was a nightmare for him to manage. He wasn't making more money, he was just making his life harder and his taxes more complicated. Set up a system that reduces the amount of thinking required to manage your money. Fewer accounts and automatic transfers will keep you on track without much effort. I fell into the trap of complexity myself when I first started. I bought 40 different stocks because I thought it made me look sophisticated. Eventually, I realized that I was just creating a part-time job for myself that I didn't want. I sold all of those individual picks and went into simple index funds like VU. It simplified my life and improved my results at the same time. If your system is too heavy, you will eventually stop maintaining it, so keep it light. Those are the 5 things that I believe are essential for getting ahead in 2026. Real wealth isn't about the highlights you see on social media. It is about the boring decisions made in private. It is about having the patience to let the math work while everyone else is looking for a shortcut. I hope you found this conversation helpful, as it is exactly what I wish someone had told me 5 years ago. The world is noisy right now, but your finances don't have to be. Focus on your cash flow, build your buffer, invest what you can, and keep it simple. If you stay the course, the results will eventually speak for themselves. Now, let's talk about the math of a car loan specifically. I recently bought a used car, and while it is not a luxury vehicle, it represents a new financial chapter for me. My previous car was that 2006 Camry, and having no car payment was a huge part of my early success. But now I have a monthly payment of $227 on a loan of $10,719. The interest rate on this loan is 8.69%, which is high enough to demand my attention. When you are faced with a choice between paying off debt, saving, or investing, you have to look at the interest. If I pay this loan off over 5 years, I will pay over $2,400 in total interest. That 8.7% is a guaranteed cost, and by paying it off early, I get a guaranteed 8.7% return. If I were to invest that same money in the market, I might get a 10% return, but it isn't guaranteed. The market could go down 20% tomorrow, but my debt interest will stay exactly where it is. Because I already have an emergency fund, I have decided to prioritize paying off this car as fast as possible. I plan to pay it off in 6 months, which will save me over $2,100 in interest. This decision simplifies my life and reduces my monthly obligations, which is worth more to me than a potential market gain. However, you should not pay off debt early if it means draining your emergency savings. You need that liquid cash to handle the unexpected turns that life always takes. You also shouldn't pay it off early if it creates massive cash flow stress in your daily life. If you are barely able to buy groceries because you are attacking a car loan, you need to slow down. Financial stability is about finding the right balance for your specific situation. If my interest rate was 2 or 3%, I would not be in a hurry to pay it off at all. I would just make the minimum payments and invest the rest of my money into the market. But at nearly 9%, the math tells me that killing the debt is the smartest move for my peace of mind. I am using the income from this channel to pay down the car while keeping my regular investments the same. This allows me to make progress on two fronts at once without feeling the squeeze in my main budget. My net worth will technically drop in the short term, but that is just a temporary shift in the numbers. Wealth building is about long-term strategy, not short-term optics. The goal for my finances is always simplicity and low fixed expenses. When your expenses are low, your freedom is high, and that is the only metric that really matters. If you can build a life where you don't owe anyone anything, you have won the game. It takes time, and it takes a lot of boring days. But the result is a level of autonomy most people will never know. I want to thank you for sticking around for this long, deep dive into the numbers. I know it isn't as exciting as a crypto pump or a day trading win, but this is what actually works over decades of life. I am 26 years old, and I feel like I am just getting started on this path with you. We are going to make mistakes, and we are going to have to adjust our plans as we go. But as long as we stick to the core principles, we are going to be just fine. I hope you take some time tonight to look at your own cash flow and your own debt. Don't be afraid of what you find. Just use it as a starting point for your next move. Every dollar you manage better today is a gift to your future self. Stay disciplined, stay curious, and don't let the noise get in your head. I am rooting for you, and I am grateful to have you as part of this community. We are going to build something substantial together. One boring decision at a time. The markets will fluctuate and the economy will change, but the math of compound interest remains a constant. Trust the process even when it feels like nothing is happening. The most significant growth often happens right after the period where you feel like giving up. Keep your head down, do the work, and let the numbers do the talking. I will see you in the next video where we will dive even deeper into these systems. Take care of yourself and stay grounded. Peace.